I'll just start by thanking the Peoria United Parent Council. They are an institution, I think, in the Peoria School District, and for years have hosted this debate and made sure it happened in the Peoria School District. So thank you to them, and thank you to the district for allowing us to rent the facility to hold the debate here tonight. Let's just start with a round of applause for candidates for being here tonight. We appreciate you letting us ask you all the tough questions and getting to know you better. The Peoria School District is really fortunate. A lot of school district races often go uncontested, or in some cases with no candidates filing at all to run. So in the Peoria Unified School District, we have a really nice dilemma, which is 6 candidates competing for 3 open seats. So just to lay out the rules for tonight's debate, if you haven't already, please turn off your cell phones. We appreciate no campaign signs or campaign literature being passed out in here during the debate. Please, no comments or booing, and save applause until the end. Each candidate will have 1 minute for opening remarks, and then we will move on to questions. The questions come from the Arizona Republic and AZ Central readers, from Arizona Republic staffers, and from audience members, hopefully here tonight. As you walked in, we had folks passing out index cards and pencils. Please, as legibly as possible, write down your questions, 1 question per card. Don't need your name on it or anything like that. Just a legible question. Raise your hand, and the folks that were passing them out will be here to collect them and get them up to me. I'll get in as many questions as possible. We will run through 7 and then 7 p.m. and then have candidates end with closing remarks. Also, we'll rotate the order in which we ask questions. Before we get started with opening remarks, I wanted to welcome Hal Borhauer. The district had 1 seat that carried a 2-year term, and Hal was the only candidate to run for that seat. Mr. Borhauer is just finishing his 1st term on the board, and he's the current school board president. We appreciate his willingness to give us another 2 years, and we would welcome him to come up and give us a few remarks. Thank you. Just 1 to 2 minutes, if you would.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to be here. I guess I'm honored that I had no competition for the 2-year term, or maybe I was the last one on the list and they decided to let him go. But I did run for the 2-year term based on some issues that my family had, so I might be back here in 2 more years doing this again. But right now I think the 2-year term is what was best for my family. I guess I'd like to speak briefly about the future of the district. I think it's bright, but I think it needs help. And right now it needs help in the form of supporting the bond. Between 2002 and 2007, the district received $86 million from the School Facilities Board to build new schools and to maintain the existing schools. In the same time period, patrons of the district voted for $210 million of bonding capacity for the district to build new schools and maintain existing schools. Those funds are nearly depleted. There's $10 million left in the 2002 bond for elementary 32. The trouble is $10 million won't build an elementary school. There's still about, I think, $17 million left in the 2005 bond for school maintenance and facilities, but those are going to run out quick. If you realize that we've spent $200+ million in the last 10 years for our schools, we need the bond override to keep the schools going. So I want to ask you to support that. In addition, I think we need to support Prop 204. Our district has, while there's been a reduction in student headcount, it's not significant. It's only about 500 and some students between 2008 and 2009 when I first came on the board to today. But our funding has been reduced 20%. Now granted, almost any business needs to look inside themselves sometimes and see how you can become more efficient. And this downturn has required us to do that. But I think we're at the point in time now where the program we deliver to students is beginning to suffer. And it's beginning to suffer at the lower end students that need extra help and we're beginning to withdraw programs from some of our higher achieving students. The gifted students may not have as much support in the future as they have today. So I would leave you with those two thoughts. Support the bond election and support Prop 204. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to you. With that, we will move to opening remarks, starting with Mr. William Burku.
Hi, thank you for having me, and thank you for putting this together. My name's Bill Burku, and of course I'm a resident of Peoria for, gosh, been about 25, 26, I don't know, not too many, quite a few years over on Peoria and Cactus. I think I'm the best nominee for the school board to choose, and I think of that because of my my experience, knowledge, and training as an educator. In training, I have a doctorate or PhD in education and curriculum and instruction, and a Master of Education in computers and media, and a Bachelor of Science in Education. But more so than that, I've been a professional educator for 20 years. I taught in the middle school, and then I also, from there, went to grad school, ended up working for ASU, and eventually teaching. Stop.
Time?
Oh. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I believe I have the knowledge necessary and that can be complementary to our school board and our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bullock. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Matt Bullock. A little bit different educator. I'm actually a small business owner for the last 20 years. I have 4 children in 3 different Peoria schools, so I have significant skin in the game. I, for 6 years, was a franchisee of Streets of New York, hired and fired over 300 employees in 2 different states, ran multi-million-dollar budgets. So a lot of business experience. I hope to bring that to the board to help bring, you know, as any time you have a large amount of money in any organization, there needs to be some checks and balances, obviously. Also now, I've been for the last 6 years been involved in a computer manufacturing business, so I have a lot of experience in technology world, which of course is the future of education. So I think to bring that experience to the board, to not just throw money at technology willy-nilly, but to actually look at what technologies are going to maximize the educational impact and what's going to actually give us a return on investment. Because ultimately, the children have to succeed, and my big push is global competition for our children. If we're not preparing them for that, then we've actually failed. So I believe my business experience, technology experience will add a nice mix to the board to be able to bring that kind of perspective to our education in the future. Thank you very much.
Tracy Livingston.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Livingston, and tonight I stand before you as the candidate of choice, as your leader of Peoria School Board. I state leader and not just member for a variety of reasons, and I hope after my introduction in the forum this evening, you will come along and support my team, Team Livingston. Tonight I would personally like to thank my husband, who is Representative-elect David Livingston, for the Arizona House of Legislature in District 22, and our son, who could not be here, which is Kyle Livingston, as he's away in college. They clearly allowed me to see the path that I am on to the board. They insisted I'm the people's choice, the teacher's choice, and the mom's choice, actually. As a wife of 24 years and an active teacher and parent, I'm everyone's choice. I will listen as a candidate and, if elected onto the board, as somebody who will listen, make thoughtful responses to tough questions, as there are no easy answers.
Thank you. Joe McCord.
Thank you. I am Joe McCord. Thank you to PUPC and the Arizona Republic for sponsoring this event this evening. I've served on the board for 4 years now, almost. Prior to that, I had 8 years' experience on another school board in California, so about 12 years total experience. In the last 4 years, serving with Eddie, Hal, Diane, and Kathy Connect, who I believe is still here, we've done some interesting things. The district has been rated as an A district by the state of Arizona. Last time I looked, you can't get any better than A. Don't think there's any A+ on it. We've been awarded the Advanced Ed designation by a national body. This is a very prestigious award. We're the only district in the state of California to be awarded that. Our graduation rate right now is at 94%. And in 2011, our seniors garnered in $51 million in grants and tuitions to major colleges and universities around the country. We also have been awarded the Magma Award, which is a major award, and I want to keep doing things of that nature, so please return me to the board for another 4 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Peter Pingarelli?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Peter Pingarelli. No, I have it, Joe. I have one. Yeah, thank you. I'm Peter Pingarelli, and thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I'm a scientist. I'm a business person who worked with a company that helped the company in its initial public offering. I've also taught at the university level for about 10 years, been involved in instructional design as well as synchronous online learning. I received the 2011 President's Award for my contribution to curriculum as well as the Accreditation Committee. I'm running for the board for 3 primary reasons. One, I want to focus decisions that work on student achievement and create a better instructional culture. 2, we really have issues in science and math. And 3, I would like to see a board that supports at all measures possible a safe learning environment for our students here in PUSD. Thank you.
Eddie Smith?
Thank you. And again, my name is Eddie Smith. Thank you all for being here tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a current member of Peoria Unified School District Governing Board. It's been really, truly one of the great honors of my life. I have to wear this funny suit too much, and I have a lot more gray hair than I did a couple years ago, but it truly has been a great honor, and it's been a great honor serving with the people that I've served with so far. They've been great mentors for me, and I truly appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, I'm by day, and I guess by night, I'm a captain with the Glendale Fire Department. More importantly, I'm a proud parent of currently 2 PUSD students and 1 former PUSD student who's now off and on to college, which is the main reason as a parent. Again, I was really proud of the education that my boys are receiving, and that's why I decided to run for the school board 2 years ago, and that's why I'm choosing to run again now, is because I feel that despite all of the obstacles and trials and tribulations that we face, not only here but as a society, the school district has done an outstanding job of delivering quality education to our children. Thank you.
Thank you. And on to our first question. We will start with Mr. Bullock. The first question is, what is one thing PUSD is getting right, and what is one thing that needs improved?
The one thing it's getting right is recognizing the fact that, and again, having students in 4 different schools, or 4 children in 3 different schools, is the fact they are recognizing that the teacher, the well and good performing teachers, are the true key to success for our educators and for our classrooms. The only way we're going to be able to prepare our children for global competition is to have great educators. The schools that I go and interact with my children, they do recognize a weakness on the other side is actually just the polar opposite of that. There are schools in PUSD that do not recognize the opportunity that promoting and supporting and benefiting fabulous and forward-thinking teachers and going with a one-size-fits-all mentality is actually bringing down the district in certain areas. Unfortunately, it happens in a lot of different districts, but our strength is indeed in, and always will be, with correctly trained, motivated, and benefited teachers. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Tracy?
I'm next. Is it the same question?
Yes.
Oh, can you repeat it one more time?
Yeah. What is one thing that PUSD is getting right, and what is one thing the district needs to improve?
The district's doing many things right. Many things. When I first came to Arizona and interviewed as a teacher, PUSD was one of my choices. I did not go to PUSD. I didn't live in the area. I wanted something closer to my young son, Kyle. So I went into Deer Valley Unified School District, which gives me the opportunity tonight to stand before you and run for your next school board seat. PUSD has always been a role model to me in all sorts of educational activities. Not only do you have some of the best boutique programs that I have seen in this state, you're willing to test them, see what works, see what doesn't work, and go forward with this concept. Your thinking already is advancing students across the board. As for negativity, I don't find many. Not many that aren't already hit in other schools. There is a loss of income, I understand that. But what you are doing correct.
Thank you.
I say bring more boutique schools to the district. Thank you.
Joe?
Same question?
Yes.
Kind of like the same answer. We are doing so many things right, it's hard to find anything that we're doing wrong. Here are 11 signature programs that we have in the different schools around the district. I'm just going to pick one because I happen to particularly like this one. It's the Peoria Traditional School that we set up as a separate part of Zuni Hill School, elementary. And in that particular one, it's the children wear uniforms. They are much more strictly observed. They have to observe more strict rules. They're in core programs. And guess what? It is succeeding tremendously. The first year, if I remember the number correctly, was 54. This year, it's 220. That's in 1 year. That's an enormous jump. I think my numbers are correct. I might be off by a couple. Is there a problem? Well, I suppose so. In that sense, we've got too many kids in the program, and the classes are getting a little bit crowded. So we're going to have to work on that. But that's a nice problem to have, really. As far as the rest of it, I have to stop.
Mr. Pingarelli.
Thank you. I think one of the best things that PUSD has is when we brought Dr. Santorelli and he hired a new staff to PUSD. I remember what PUSD and the administration was before his arrival, and I think parents are very, very grateful to that. In terms of one area of improvement, I would have to beg to differ with Mr. McCord a little bit on the A. If one looks at math, for example, and the 2012 AIMS scores, of the 39 schools, 19 of those schools received scores that were below 70%. That's C, or that's D and lower. And that's where we do have to improve. So those are the one thing that I think is very good, Dr. Santorelli, and the one thing we really have to make some improvements is in our math education. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. I would say one thing that we're getting right is I'm going to focus on our 94% graduation rate. You know, if we really want to prepare kids to meet tomorrow, we got to get them to graduation so that they can move on to whatever tomorrow is. And we're doing that at a 94% clip. That's better than anything you're going to hear about around the state and most places in the entire country. If there's something that I think that we probably need to improve on, I would agree. I would say that, to tag along with what Mr. McCord said, is I would say that classroom size is one of our biggest, it's a fault of ours mainly because we don't have the money to hire enough teachers to reduce class sizes. And so really our staff and our personnel at the high schools are doing the best that they can. But if it's one area of improvement that I think that we should try to improve on, hopefully if Prop 204 passes, we can have new monies to do sort of some stuff that'll help alleviate some of these problems. I would say that we need to try to do everything we can to try to reduce class sizes, especially in a lot of the core subjects like the math and the sciences.
Good. Let's follow up on that. Actually, and this one will be directed to you first, Mrs. Livingston. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Perque. Sorry about that.
I thought I was tagged.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take your spotlight.
All right.
All right.
Still alphabetically. I think one of the things, now I'll dovetail on what Mr. Smith said, is that the district is known for and is doing well is academic achievement and growth. Again, the 94% graduation rate is the top in the state. Additionally, although we statewide we lack scores in math and especially math areas, we are still achieving better here. It's a growth thing. It's endemic to the entire nation. So I think with some of the things that are happening, we will do better. Fiscal management is another thing, and this district is great for that. We have more dollars, I think, are spent in the classroom here than either state or peer districts, and I think that's admirable. We spend less on administration than
Thank you.
and that's good.
Very good, thank you. Now to that question, and this will be directed to you first, Mrs. Livingston. Last school year, high schoolers came to the board with concerns about class sizes, at times in excess of 40 students, I believe they said. How important is class size to education, and what, if anything, would you do to reduce class size?
Class size is important. There's no getting around that. Last year I had 37 as an average in my classes, and I teach 7th grade language arts. This year I have anywhere from 24, 25, 26. It does make an impact. 40 in a high school class is tipping the high end of the scale. We need the bond money to pass. How much can go to education to lessen, classroom education to lessen the size? How many teachers can we hire with that money? I don't have all the particulars because obviously it's for transportation first, and after that it would be for the buildings and internet, which is definitely needed. To lessen class sizes, we obviously need personnel. It's point blank on that, and the schools need the monies to get that personnel. We can be a growing district. And in order to grow, we need more boutique programs. We need more programs that bring the growth back to PUSD to get the teachers.
Thank you. Mr. McCord.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to slightly disagree with, slightly. She says it's important. No, it's not. It's vital. Class size is absolutely vital to the instruction of the children. Look, you got a 15-minute hour for the most part, 44 students. Take the time for roll call in the morning, the grades, all the rest of it. We're talking about far less than a minute per student if the teacher had time to individually meet with each student, which normally he or she doesn't. So classes of 44 at the high school level, way too big. Classes of 26 at the elementary, at the kindergarten, first grade, way too big. We need to get more teachers in. We need to get the best that we do. When we do pay them well, to get the very best. Is the answer money only? Well, yes and no. We're doing a terrific job of finding the best teachers, but we do need to get more money to pay them. I personally will be lobbying every single legislator, are you listening to me, Mr. Livingston? Every single legislator in downtown to do more money for the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pingarelli.
Thank you. The statistics say that if you look at across the nation, is that at the lower end, K through 3, 4th grade, should be somewhere between 18 to 22, 24 students. At the higher end, in high school, it has gone up, and some of the averages are 35 to 40. And I realize some of our classrooms are, beyond those capacities. What is the thing? The second part of the question is what can be done. And there is, if you have teachers on a special assignment, can we redirect those into the classroom? And can we gain efficiencies by rearranging the curriculums?
Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll use this as an example. I coach football at Centennial High School, and one of my fellow coaches, who's also a teacher, teaches social studies. First day of class, he comes into the coach's office, and he's talking about how he's got 47 students in the class, and he doesn't have enough desks. So there's kids that are actually sitting on the floor. Could you imagine trying to get a quality education if you're sitting on the floor? Luckily, we have quality guidance counselors that rectified the situation, so he was able to go from 47 down to like 40, which still isn't a great solution to the problem. So I guess what I'm saying is that our teachers and our staff, our guidance counselors and our administration is doing a good job of trying to put Band-Aids on this problem, but the only true way to fix it is to have more teachers have more teachers available to reduce class size. The only way we can do that truly is with more money. That's why I say that having Prop 204 passed could bring more monies like that into our classrooms and hopefully reduce those class sizes.
Mr. Baku.
I would have to agree that if you've ever sat as a student in a huge classroom, you know that you know what that's like, but especially if you've taught in a classroom. And I really compliment you for being here, Mrs. Livingston, after that many junior high kids in a classroom. That is crazy, especially in language arts. One of the things we can do, and again, I'm going to plug the bond again, is to get into some things like blended learning and other approaches that can relieve that, using technology to its best to not only present to assist the teacher and especially to attract the students into the curriculum, but also help them but acknowledge when they need extra help or need extra advancement. We can use technology better in our teaching, and that'll alleviate some of the problems.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bullock.
It's interesting you bring this up. I had my first experience with potential hate mail as a potential board member. I live up by Vistancia, and they last year promised a gifted student program with no more than 26 students in the class. Ended up having 32. Some of my neighbors found out that I was running for the board, and so I got bombarded with emails, not even being on the board, asking, what are you going to do about it? I said, well, I don't know yet because I'm not on the board, but if I were, here's what I would do. Obviously, we all agree. It would be nice to have one-on-one where you get to college. Like when I took my biology class as a freshman, I had 400 students in my class with one professor. But yes, we do need to get the smallest amount of teachers. But being, I guess, the only business person on the board, or modern business person on the board, which is a good mix, have we determined, A, exactly how many students make the perfect class, how much does it actually cost to bring them to the next level of success, not just push them through, but to have success. And 3, what does it take in resources, dollars, and teachers to graduate them, to prepare them for whatever they're going to do successfully, not just kick them out and just do the bare minimum.
Very good. For this next question, we'll start with you, Mr. McCord. Candidates often say, and this is an audience member question, candidates often say they want to get rid of waste. Specifically, what waste?
Oh, goodness. What waste is there in the Peoria Unified School District? I think I would spend an awful lot of time looking to find very, very little. Over the last 4 years that I've been on this board, we have cut and cut and cut and cut and cut. I don't think there is any more waste. I don't think there is. I do have a master's degree in business administration, which means I know how to read school board budgets. I know how to read all budget, and I did run a business for 23 years, so I'll just add that to your resume, Mr. Bullock. I understand what it's like to be a business-like person in the school, and we have done, I think, just a superb job of keeping down our costs. Our administrative costs are among the lowest of any district in the state, certainly of comparable size districts. We've done just about everything we can. I would really be hard put to find any waste unless you want me to look in the trash baskets and empty them. Other than that, I think I'll stop right there.
Okay. Mr. Pingarelli?
Thank you. I can think of 2 things. One is looking at high school. I have 2 daughters in the Centennial High School, which I failed to mention early. One of the things in looking at the curriculum, looking at the courses, I think there can be some efficiencies brought to consolidating or reducing the number of courses. This would help with efficiencies with curriculum development, minimizing the bureaucracy within the district. That would be one thing. Another thing might be is to really contemplate and consider the block scheduling. And I think block scheduling may be an area where if we go back to traditional type of course instruction, and I realize there's some pros and cons, I think that there can be great efficiencies and some savings there. So those would be 2 things that I would list.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I'll just first start by answering the question is the reason why many candidates start out with waste, fraud, and abuse is because a lot of times it's the easiest way to get elected. because it's throwing red meat to the voters, right? So thankfully, I'm not hearing that from our fellow candidates. What I'm hearing is that we're always looking in Peoria School to find those small inefficiencies and ways that we can try to be more efficient and save some more money. But I would say that there isn't glaring deficiencies out there. I would say that we're down to the bare bones, and our administration and our staff and everybody and our teachers and everybody's doing everything that they can to try to cut down on those deficiencies. But there's not a whole lot of them. There's really not a whole lot of them out there. It's just we've gotten to the point now to where, like I said, we're down to the bare bones, and there isn't this giant gaping pot of money out there that we really don't know that doesn't exist. It's just not out there anymore. So I think that we're doing a good job of trying to find those deficiencies and to save wherever we can.
Thank you. Mr. Baku.
And I would also say that this district is running on a bare bones efficiently. I've been following the district or been involved as a volunteer for the last few years, and I can commend the administration on stretching the dollar every way they possibly can. And it shows. It shows that we've been able to maintain the level of curriculum excellence as well as fiscal management high above the other districts, our peer districts. You know, if you compare apples and apples, we're at the top of the basket there, where we and again, this is on money that our state is 48th or something, 48th or 49th in how it supports our schools, yet we are still managing to do well here as well as we can. And that would be my comment.
Mr. Bullock.
I look at it a little bit different, and again, I haven't had the privilege of being on the board, so I'm not privy to all the information, so, but you know, that's okay. I don't see all the exact spreadsheets, but we'll look at it from, again, a business point of view. I'm not going to hate to burn that thing deep in the hole there, but as a business person, you're always skeptical. No matter how much you've cut, you start looking at redundancies. For example, I was talking with Tracy. I won't steal your thunder, so if I do, then you can take it. We were talking about, like, for example, payroll. You know, when you merge multiple companies together, what's the first thing that you do? You consolidate payroll, for example, consolidate HR, consolidate insurance at one location, and that administers everything. Perfect example, when I had my Streets New York restaurants, I had 300 employees at once. We had not salaried employees, we just kept hitting reprint every 2 weeks on the check with the same amount. We had 290 employees at different pay rates, all hourly employees, all different hours every single week. We had one person doing it because we implemented a wide area network to handle all the payroll electronically. So something like that, instead of having different payroll person or insurance at every single school, consolidate that down to one. Again, I'm not privy to everything that happens on the budget, but that's examples I would look for is consolidation and using technology. Thank you.
Mrs. Livingston.
The first thing I always hear in DBUSD every year is that our district is shrinking. Your district is probably shrinking. Perhaps not as vast as ours, but a little bit here and there. You've done an excellent job, very excellent job, in promoting the boutique schools and getting monies back into your district. You're not losing at the same rate that other districts are. You're not seeing vast leaps to charter schools. What you need is to promote the boutique schools to get more students back in to PUSD because you have the best programs out here. More students equals more dollars. More dollars equals more ways to fund the programs you need. Finally, if you need to build schools, you need this bond to pass. You are working on a bare bones budget. I understand that bare bones budget. I think you're doing a pretty darn good job. Thank you.
Follow up with another financial question from the audience, starting with Mr. Pingarelli. The district has cut $60 to $70 million in the past 4 to 5 years. We've kind of addressed this. What is your view on the cuts? And if elected, what would you do to influence state lawmakers to reinstate reductions and sufficiently finance education? So maybe the second half of that question is, yeah. What would you do to influence state lawmakers?
So, well, I know personally Mr. Livingston, so that's my first in. I also know Mr. Murphy, and I'm very involved in party politics. So I think that's the first thing that I would do, at least in terms of creating a dialogue. However, perhaps my philosophy is a bit different in that I realize there have been cuts, but we also have to realize in the context of our economy and our situation, many individuals are hurting right now, and it is very, very difficult. And so I realize that this has fallen upon the schools, but it's fallen upon many companies and individuals also. And so we simply have to look at ways of taking efficiencies and creating performance within the means that we have right now.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Yeah, I would say that I would address this more towards my support for Prop 204. And the reason that is because for two reasons. One, Prop 204 would bring in an estimated $1 billion towards education. The first year would bring in $800 million, with $200 million going towards state infrastructure projects and towards low-income families. After that, the full $1 billion would go towards education. Now, here's the best part about it, is that our state lawmakers, God bless them, Mr. Livingston, they wouldn't have the option of taking money from that fund and sending it elsewhere, all right? That money would be earmarked directly towards education, so now we could finally have that solid foundation so that we can move onward and upward, and maybe we won't have as many of these financial instabilities in the future.
Mr. Burku?
And I also, the Proposition 204 is necessary. I mean, we have to have the money to operate the school district. The reason we need to do that is the need is evident, but also our state legislature has not supported public education. We need to do that. And so what would I do is personally, I'll do what I'm saying right now. I'll stand and up for 204 and campaign for that. You know, we've been promised and talked to for a long time from the state legislation that they're going to, you know, one change or another, but they haven't. This would be, as Mr. Smith said, money that would be earmarked specifically for education, and in spite of the whatever propaganda otherwise, every part of it is directed to a good source for the betterment of the state of Arizona and our schools.
Mr. Bullock?
As I would talk to my state legislators in a board position, I would dangle the wonderful carrot of economic vitality and increase in our state. Being in the technology business, we're actually building computers right now for Intel's new plant down in Queen Creek, the $2 billion massive concrete structure that will make magical processors next year, hopefully. And in talking to some of the people down there that are actually doing the hiring, it's funny, they said, we are probably not going to be expanding as much as we originally thought because of the lack of engineering and high-tech students coming out of Arizona schools. We are actually increasing our hiring from overseas. Nothing wrong with that. Somebody from overseas has great talent, bring them on over. The point being, I would like to exhaust Arizona students before we start going overseas. And what's happening is that if you're able to provide an educated base, what do? You attract businesses. The number one reason after climate, funny enough, is education. If we are increasing our education, we're bringing more businesses. That dangles a wonderful carrot of an increased tax base. Any legislator would snap at that.
Ms. Livingston?
Well, Representative-elect, no, I had to say that. I look at this a little bit differently, and I've had the pleasure to speak with Doug Ducey and, of course, our Department of Education gentleman, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name right now, and I feel very embarrassed. I see this a little bit differently. We have some districts out there that are tiny. Yeah, Huppenthal, thank you. We have some districts out there that are very tiny, very, very tiny, and only once in the history of Arizona has that been challenged. Now, I'm talking the tiny, tiny districts. We need to start consolidating them. That would bring more money to the larger districts. That makes sense. As far as Huppenthal is also thinking, we need to bring the Department of Education in the state of Washington down and bring the monies Now, of course, we're not going to go stomp on them, but not close it, but bring it down so the monies come back to our state and go back to our districts. We need the control, and we need less small districts.
Mr. McCord?
I'm going to make this very, very personal. Over the last 3 years, the PUSD has suffered cuts of roughly 24% in our budget. 24%. Now, I want each and every person in this room to think, what would you do if your income was cut 24%, your family income was cut 24%, and you had no other source of income? What would you do? What would you cut out? You would cut down to the very, very bone. You would cut out every ounce of fat there was, which is what we did. We did not affect the classroom. Some tiny little ways, yes, but basically we kept money flowing into the classroom, into the teachers' salaries. We did cut them, but not so drastically that we lost a lot of teachers. We didn't. I'm asking each person to think about that. Now, how do we remedy that? Well, you do have the answer. We're going to talk to your husband and a whole bunch of other legislators and make them understand what these cuts mean to us. And the lady with the great big stop sign is flashing it, so I'm going to have to quit at this point and move on. And move on to Dr. Pinder.
Very good. This one's for starting with Mr. Smith. Talk to us about specific ways you've been active in the district beyond service on the board.
Beyond service on the board, well, I mean, again, as a Glendale fire captain, we do a lot of safety and preventive type stuff. I've gone into the classrooms and taught our children how to utilize the 911 system, stop, drop, and roll, different things that we can do to try to help make them safer, and hopefully different things we can do for them to take that information home to their parents to help keep their home safe. I've been a volunteer football coach in the district for the past going on 16, 17 years, both at the youth football level and then also now at the high school level. And I've served on our technology committee here in the district. Some of my fellow committee members are here, and with all the things with the bond and everything else, with a lot of the technology we have coming towards us, I think that's going to be, we're going to be able to do some exciting things in that area. So, those are just some of the few things that I'd volunteer my time to do on top of volunteering on the board.
Thank you. Mr. Burku?
And I'm on the Peoria Technology Advisory Committee and have been for several years, and I meet with them once a month. I also was in the initial committee for the Bond Advisory Board when we were meeting here before it went to the Political Action Committee. I attended all of the open houses or that we have in the school districts, and was asked to come and talk to the panel that came from outside to accredit our district on the national accreditation as a citizen and supporter of the community. So I will continue to support any way I can our district.
Mr. Bullock?
Many years of PTA help, volunteering, and even volunteering substantial amount of pizza when I was a franchisee of Streets of New York. I didn't have a lot of board memberships or committee assignments. What I did was as a business owner in different businesses over the years, went into the schools with the permission of the teacher and brought them out to field trips of they actually came in and ran the restaurant for an hour. They actually acted as cooks and managers at one of my daughter's 5th grade class. So we actually gave them real-world experience. As a technology geek, and yes, geek is a cool term nowadays, as a technology geek, I've been asked to come into the schools where my children attended and help them fix their computers, help them to train, and help give little demonstrations on how to use computer-based training programs effectively. Maybe the teacher wasn't quite sure, or he or she knew that I was in that world and could help out. So basically, I've taken a little bit different realm of interacting directly with the students and trying to give them some job experience, maybe a little premature, being 4th and 5th graders, but maybe it's not too late or not too early to start preparing them for that global education, the job force.
Ms. Livingston?
My answer's a little bit different. What have I not done? Well, parent-teacher conferences. I've taught 1st grade, 2nd grade, 4th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. Come on in anytime. But in a different district, Deer Valley Unified School District. Currently, I teach 7th grade language arts. I recently received the nicest nomination for the Silver Apple Award, not from one parent, from 3. I'm amazed. and that will obviously go to my principal. I've received test scores from the 90th percentile to the 97th percentile in language arts. I've been everything from first in my district to second in my district in language arts scores. I've done everything from sleepovers, not sleepovers in the way you're thinking, but my goodness, sleepover field trips to one-day field trips to staying after school, high school dances, you name it. I feel I'm a natural fit to coming into PUSD and doing anything that's asked of me. Thank you very much.
Mr. McCord?
Because I'm retired and have the time and the inclination, I have a personal project where I actually go into the school first thing in the morning, early in the morning, 7:30, spend an entire school day in the classrooms, 20 minutes in this class, 15 here, 10 here, 20 here, and then at the end of the day, meet with teachers, secretaries, maintenance people, anybody who wants to talk to a board member one-on-one. And I've been doing that now for the last couple, well, I had a layoff the last year because I had a spinal surgery and it kind of slowed me down. But I'm going to pick it up again, and I'm warning them that I'm going to go in the classrooms and terrorize those kids again. However, I also, for the last 6.5 years, have been out at the Challenger Space Science Center, where I'm known as Professor Joe, and I teach astrophysics to children. Part of that, I would come into the Peoria schools and actually have maybe 94th or 5th graders sitting on the floor and walk among them and perform these scientific experiments while wearing my big lab coat with the sign Professor Joe on it. Believe me, that was fun, but I think the kids learned something.
Thank you. Mr. Pingarelli?
Thank you. One of the things I really enjoy is when my daughter's teachers ask me to come in for a career day. I've done that routinely over the past 8 years. I've enjoyed it. I've done it a number of times. My daughters are both, not only do I get a lot of drama at home, but I also get a lot of drama through the Centennial Theater Troupe, and my wife and I donate a lot of time and money. I've also been involved with helping the student when I was working at the Barrow Neurological student, a gifted student from Centennial, and mentor that student who was interested in going in research, help them out with training along with the residents that I trained. So I very much enjoyed that. And I volunteer tutoring time for students having difficulty in math and in science, and they come over to our place. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Burku, we'll start back with you. What are your views on the arts in schools? Are you a supporter?
Yes, I'm very much a supporter. That's one of the things that really impressed me when going to the open houses. I think it was last year, they had at a luncheon that, of course, was prepared by the students in the district in the culinary arts area. There was a performance, there was a string quartet, I think. There was a performance by vocalists. There was actual art on display. There's a close alliance, and I think in all grades, with the Peoria arts, and I think that's essential. I think it all goes back to multiple intelligence and learning. Everybody has a way to express themselves, and especially the theater. I'm involved with Theater Works myself as a supporter, and you know, those kind of partnerships are great. So the arts are essential. We should never think about cutting that sort of thing.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock?
Actually, it's interesting. The art, in my mind, is one of the three heads of a successful education. You have science and technology, science and math, which I'll say chisels the brain. Then you have the art, which actually hones and softens the brain. And then the third head of a good education is competition through either sports, debate, band, anything that provides competition. I think that hardens the brain, and I use that in a correct term. So art for me is one of the definitely the three heads of a successful project or a successful growth strategy for a child. Art, you know, well, I do stand-up comedy, scary enough, so my spare time, so art is very, very important to it, but it has to be well balanced. I would not throw all this money at art or all this money at science or all this money at sports. It is a three-pronged approach to building the correct student.
Ms. Livingston?
It's essential. I have students that right now open their journals, and guess what? They're not doodles. They're fantastic pieces of art. Walk into my room, you will see art pieces all over my room from my students because it's the way they create and speak to me, to others, and to themselves. Also, interestingly enough, I have a very, very close friend. I went to college with her. So this was, many decades ago. But her daughter is extremely gifted. Now, this is out in Chandler they live. And they had to remove her from the regular school, so to speak, and take her into a charter school so she can develop that drama, that voice, those skills. She's in a play every season. I mean, more than one, with theater works or other types of child's play, this, that, and the other. And this child has a gift. It wouldn't be recognized in a public school, but in Peoria, it can be. Keep the arts.
Mr. McCord.
It was the Roman poet Ovid who said that art makes the man, that it softens the soldier, rounds the philosopher, and makes the merchant's life worth living. That was said 2,400 years ago, and I believe it's as true today as it was then. Arts complete the human being, make the human being whole. It gives the person, man or woman, a totally different view of life that rounds them out and makes them understand that learning making money isn't everything. Learning is vital, but arts are absolutely beyond vital. I can't stress strongly enough how much I support the arts. We have a great program at, where is it? Desert Harbor. We have a great program at Desert Harbor. Couldn't read the small print there, but should have put my glasses on. We need more of this kind of program, and I am a strong, strong supporter.
Mr. Pingarelli.
Well, I won't quote Homer, but art is life. And I would say that certainly I support it. Not just the visual arts in terms of canvas, but also written art, language arts, short stories. I think we have some phenomenal students at Centennial that are doing incredible work as aspiring novelists, as artists, and are going on. And so I think we should support it. It also instills tremendous creativity where science and math, which also requires creativity, is very systematic, very methodological. Art softens that, and it actually helps with the creative process. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm fascinated by arts and music, and in fact, so much so that I try to become a whole person, as Mr. McCord said. One time I was even on the board for the Arizona Broadway Theater, and the reason I did that is I was a jock. I went to college on a football scholarship. The reason I'm so fascinated with the people that are in the arts programs is because they can do something that I know that I can never do, and that fascinates me. And so I'm a big supporter of people being able to find whatever it is that they can excel at, or whatever it is that they find a passion with, and taking that passion and maybe turn it into something else, maybe turn it into a career. So I'll use a little story too in terms of showing the variety of arts at Centennial High School. My son, who's a sophomore, came home about this first week of school, and he said he wanted to get out of ceramics and get into beginning dance. And I think part of it was because of all the females that were in the dance class. But I thought that was awesome because come November, he's going to actually be in a performance, and it's going to be on the stage, and I think that that's going to be fantastic. Not only is he a football player, but he's also, trying to become an artist, something his dad could never be.
Okay, let's take one more question, and for the final question about teachers. We'll start with you, Mr. Bullock.
Okay.
It's a question from a reader. With the financial limitations placed on the schools by the Arizona legislature, what do you think can be done to improve the pay scales for PUSD employees so they do not have to take second or third jobs just so their families can survive?
Okay. multifaceted question, and basically, when my opening statement, I mentioned that I'm very pro-teacher because I had the benefit of having fantastic teachers when I was young. I was able to be in a gifted student program, which not only gave me a thirst for knowledge, but I think made high school and college a lot easier for me. So the teacher is it. The teacher doesn't succeed, then the district doesn't succeed. The only way you're going to find more money for teachers, it's no different than in the business world. Obviously, it's public money versus private money, but you either have to, A, have less teachers, B, additional funding, or C, a consolidation. So again, not being privy to everything on the board, I can't give you an exact answer of what I would cut or add right away. But the fact that our teachers haven't had raises in a long time, yes, in the private world, what will they do? They'd walk away. If I don't pay my employees market rates, they leave and go work for my competitor. If I pay above market rates and create a wonderful working environment, I have a waiting line at my door trying to get in to work for my company.
Mrs. Livingston.
I haven't had a raise in 10 years. What is there to do about it? The only thing I've been told is to grow the district. Deer Valley is not growing. Peoria has that chance. It has a fighting chance. The boutique schools, I know I go back to them, but think about it. It's like your own mini charter that you're creating. Students are coming to your schools for difference. You're in a growth mode. Continue that mode. Advertise. Push these schools. And then, of course, talk to my husband, Representative-elect David Livingston. And I'm kidding. I'm not kidding about that. But we do need the legislature's help. We definitely do. Whether it's a small consolidation of districts, meaning the tiny coming through and more money's coming through, or perhaps other funds coming in. I agree with Mr. Bullock. Not privy to everything, but there is a problem at hand, and we do need to solve this.
Mr. McCord.
Our teachers in Peoria Unified School District number 11 are among the finest in the state, and I'm going to go a little further and say among the very best in the entire United States. We have excellent professional teachers in this district. How did we get them? Well, we recruited them. We searched their backgrounds. We made sure that we got the very best. And we do pay them. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to pay them what they deserve. And that does go back to the very point that Ms. Livingston is making is in the legislature. But let's go with 204. Let's get that money in. That can be used for teachers' salaries. And by the way, as far as growth is concerned, it might be of interest to the people in the audience to know that 10% of our students come from outside the districts. These are families who have looked at Peoria. They live someplace else. Surprise, Glendale, Phoenix, wherever they live. They've looked at Peoria and have said, I want my kids in that district. Yes, we need to do more of that, and I think we can do more of that, but we really need your support for 204. Thank you.
Mr. Pingarelli.
Thank you. I agree that we do here in PUSD have some highly effective teachers. I also agree that some of the teachers that we have, perhaps more than a few, obviously, are undercompensated. So I do agree with that. I also believe that we have some, and having two daughters and having 16 years of teachers, is we also have some very ineffective teachers. And so we have to bring that also forward. In terms of the funding, it's formula driven. You can pay more teachers, or you can pay teachers more, or you can have more teachers. And it's a balance between classroom size and the number of teachers. Right now, the economy is struggling, and I'm very empathetic to teachers and their plight. Many of us and many of the patrons and voters I've talked to have also had this concern. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
You know, as the son of a high school English teacher, I can remember times during, as growing up when, you know, my mom, she had to do exactly what you were saying. She had to take that second job, or she taught summer school in the summer to try to help make ends meet. And so, you know, my empathy for the teachers and their profession is something that I learned as a kid growing up. So, again, I go back to, you know, I know that Mr. Livingston, I apologize, but the state legislators, they pay attention to the special interest lobbyists that are down there. They don't pay attention to education, okay? So again, my support for Prop 204 is that it takes that special interest lobbyists out of the equation, and it takes the state legislature out of the equation, and it earmarks, again, $800 million the first year and $1 billion ongoing forward after that for areas just like this so that we can start paying our teachers the money they deserve so they don't have to take all these second and third jobs.
Mr. Raku.
We need to value our teachers. I mean, as a society. Lately, in the country, we haven't been doing that. In spite of the salaries that Arizona has lack of salary resources, our district remains still on top. You know, the bottom of the litter as far as the state supporting the schools, which can be rectified with Prop 302. But, you know, we continue. We've got to pay teachers a salary commensurate with their capabilities and with their performance. They aren't in it for the money. I've taught a lot of future teachers. The attraction is here for Peoria District. When they're talking about where they're going to get interviews, my graduates from ASU were saying, oh, I got an interview at Peoria. But we bring them in here. We want to keep them here. And it's the obvious thing. None of us got into it for the big bucks. We got in for satisfaction and the professionalism of being educators.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. Sadly, my pile of questions was way bigger than the time we have allowed here. But we will move to closing comments, starting with Mrs. Livingston, 1 minute.
First of all, I want to thank you for being here tonight. You could be anywhere else, but you decided to come and show your support for us, the candidates. So thank you very much. I feel, yes, I am the most qualified candidate sitting here. Not because I know everything about PUSD. Far from that. I am an educator. I understand what teachers do day in and day out. By the way, I'm not leaving my job, so I really do understand what you do. I'm a listener. I listen first and answer when I have a knowledgeable answer, and I promise to do that. Third, I'm a mom. Who runs our schools? Moms. Who brings lunches to school? Moms. Who comes to parent-teacher conferences? Most of the time, I will say that, sorry men. Moms. I will listen. I will give you the knowledgeable answers, and I do understand where you're coming from. Thank you very much. Vote Livingston. Thanks.
Mr. McCord.
I will echo the thank you to all of you for being here tonight. I do appreciate you turning out, and I do hope you're going to vote for me. If you do, then over the next 4 years, I'm going to continue one particular thing, and that is to constantly prepare our children for the jobs and the careers of the future, which are changing dramatically and drastically. Jobs that exist today won't exist in 10 years. Jobs that don't exist today, careers that don't exist today, will be out there. We have to prepare our kids for them. Let me give you one example. You've all heard about ethanol as a source of gasoline or power to power our automobiles. Well, it may be of interest to you to know that science, can do the same thing with weeds. We can extract energy from weeds, not just corn, so that it's quite possible in the not too far distant future, you pull your car up to a pump and say, give me a tank full of sawgrass gas, please. We've got to prepare kids to do that sort of thing, that sort of experimentation, that sort of innovation, that sort of science. Joe McCord, you've seen my signs outside. Hope to see you at the polls on November 6th.
Mr. Pingarelli.
Thank you. I think first of all, I want to thank not just the audience, but I want to thank all my fellow candidates here. This is a job that is non-compensatory, and it's a very important job because of all the money that the state takes in. Over $4 billion, more than over half at times, comes to school boards, and school boards have important roles to play in how that money is spent. I believe I provide some unique characteristics that differentiate myself. I'm a scientist. I've worked in a high-intensity, high-pressure biotech industry, been responsible for executives. I've worked in a medical venue. I have instructional design experience, and I have 2 daughters in PUSD, so I have skin in the game also. So I hope you will support Peter Pingarelli. Visit my website, and thank you very much.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I just want to thank the PUPC, and I want to thank the Arizona Republic for holding this event. It's always great when you can try to communicate who you are to the people in your community. I would say, you know, it's been a great honor for me to serve on this board for the past 2 years, and one thing I have heard from all our fellow candidates is that they do think that this school district is headed in the right direction. They do think that we're already doing a good job, and so I'll take that as a compliment. I appreciate that. And just to tell you that I'll just continue to keep doing what I do. You know, I'm here because I'm a dad, and I take a very pragmatic, data-driven approach to all of my decision making. I try to listen to all sides, and then I try to take all the facts in, and then I just try to make an informed decision from there. I try to take emotions out of those votes as best as I can, and try to make those votes based on data-driven decision making. And so I'm just going to continue to try to do what I do. If that's good enough for you all, then please vote for me on November 6th. If it's not, I'll still be a proud parent here in PUSD.
Mr. Burku.
And I would like to follow by thanking everyone here, too. I think that I've had the broadest base. I've been fortunate enough to live and have experience in a pretty widespread area as being a teacher, public school teacher. I used to be on district-wide committees and have helped with the meet and confer. So I think I've seen and familiar with all different aspects or levels with education and the public school system. I've been fortunate enough in retirement to help design a school and became very familiar with budgets. It's a rather, Arizona's, besides lean, is a very peculiar budgeting system. And I'm very, educational technology was my area of research as applied to educational technology, how we apply it, how we work with our kids. And finally, curriculum and instruction and assessment. I will know what our professionals are telling us when they come before the board here in the district. Thank you.
Mr. Bullock.
I was thinking to myself, we're always our own worst critics, so I said, why would I vote for Matt Bullock if I wasn't Matt Bullock? And I think that we all talk about unique skills, and we have unique skills on the board. I think that I bring a couple of things that would be beneficial to the board, looking at myself. The technology experience, the interfacing with a lot of high-tech companies around the country, and even a couple in Kenya, Africa now that we do business with. I actually am a little bit different than the educators in that I actually get the kids after they've graduated. In my restaurant years, hiring them after high school, and in my technology business now, hiring them after they leave college or in internships. So having that experience on the board of looking at it that there's the teacher part, but then what are we preparing them for? Preparing them for that global competition. I bring that, not only the experience of business and being in the technology world and helping to focus what technologies will make the most sense, what will bring us that in return on investment. Hate to use that term, but it is applicable. Not looking at our kid as an investment necessarily, or as an item, an asset, but they are our biggest and greatest investment. So by having a Matt Bullock on the board, I would vote for me because I bring the angle that's necessary, I think, to bring and hone the opportunities for the future for our kids in district. Thank you very much.
Okay. A round of applause for candidates. Hopefully this evening has been helpful to you as you begin early voting next week or go to the polls on November 6th. A quick closing comment from Ginger McLam, our timekeeper.
Well, first I want to thank all of the candidates for attending and
responding to my emails, as numerous as they were. And I want to thank Kim and Jan for mentoring me as I'm new to the Peoria United Parent Council. So thank you to the two of you. It's made my life easier. And I think Missy already left, so Missy and I are on a learning curve. So I appreciate everyone understanding that. We have some things outside that we would like for you to take notice of. Each candidate provided an information sheet, so please feel free. I know they gave us a lot of information this evening, but please take those with you, so reference to later. And this will actually be on Channel 99 and on YouTube beginning 7 p.m. on Friday. And it'll just loop through. So if you have somebody that wasn't able to attend tonight that you think it would be beneficial for them to see, which I think it would be beneficial for every parent and even teacher or faculty member to do, please feel free to encourage them to watch that. So I appreciate all of you coming this evening. And we also have a sign up outside if you want to receive the bulletin from PUPC, which comes out ever so often with information that is beneficial for you. And I believe with that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your attendance and thank you for this evening.
Nice seeing you, sir. Nice seeing you.